May 7th, I just walked out, didn't give a 2-week notice at all, and I focused on the business. So I grinded it out the whole 2010.
Welcome to the Wheelbarrow Profits Podcast, where you get multifamily investing made real. Learn from top players in the real estate investment world as they share their secrets with you and discover proven strategies on apartment investing that actually work. To learn more about Wheelbarrow Profits, visit jakeandgino.com, your one-stop shop for everything multifamily. Now to your hosts, Jake and Gino.
Hello, everybody. This is Jake Stenziano, host of the Wheelbarrow Profits Podcast, here with my co-host, the multifamily mentor, the coach, the chef, the father of 6, the best-selling author, the G-Daddy, Gino Barbaro. Gino, how's it going?
Mr. Stenziano, I am doing good. How you doing?
Always making it happen. Today, I'm about to get schooled, though, because we've got a wholesaler. That's right. We're stepping outside of our comfort zone, something I don't really know much about. Today's guest is Chris Bruce. He is the founder, and I'm got to throw a side note on. I love this name, EscapeTheNewbieZone.com. His blog reveals all of his ninja strategies, killer marketing tips, and tricks to get ahead of the curve with your real estate investing business. Gino, you ready?
For this, I was born ready for this one.
Let's do it. All right, without further ado, Chris, welcome to the show.
What's going on, Gino and Jake?
Not much.
Not
doing
much.
Good. Doing good. So why don't you kick us off here and tell us a little bit about how you got started in real estate and your story.
All right, definitely. Well, I was actually thinking about getting into the porn star industry.
Hey, PG. PG-13.
I'm joking.
We
I'm
can go
joking.
there.
It's a joke. It's a joke. No. Well, actually, I was working. I was working at Bank of America. And I was getting tired of just the workforce, man. I was like, I want to try something different. I tried different like business opportunities and stuff like that. None of that stuff really was for me. So I ended up I was on the internet and I was searching for different opportunities, and I came across the guy that was in Tampa, Florida, advertising a program about flipping bank-owned properties. And this was 2009, guys. This was right after the market had crashed. So many people were scared and very infuriated of looking into real estate investing. So I went ahead, I jumped on it. I actually bought the course. I didn't even have the money to buy the course because it was $997. So I begged my girlfriend at the time, who was my daughter's mother. I begged her to put it on her credit card. And she bought the course. We went through it. I made so many mistakes, Gino and Jake. It's ridiculous. I actually put 26 deals at the contract, and none of them closed.
26? I don't think we've done 26 deals.
I know it.
26 properties at the contract. None of them closed. But I kept going. I was pissing off every real estate agent, every brokerage, everything. But I kept going. And I finally closed the first deal, and that led me on to continuing on with this business.
Wow, so I guess you pissed your girlfriend off too, because $997. She's saying, "Where's my return on investment on that deal?" How long did it take you to close that first deal, though? I mean, that's the question. How long did you finally taste that bittersweet? How long did it take you?
Yeah, I want to say it was 3 to 4 months. I was moving extremely fast, faster than I probably should have been, because I'm just an action taker. So, I was putting in like 20 offers a week. Wow. Sometimes more, just doing what they were telling me to, because the guy that was, the guy that actually taught the program, he's one of the biggest investors still to this day in Tampa. And they're doing like 30 properties a month. So I was like, okay, I need to hurry up and get to this level. And I was doing what he told me to do, but I didn't really know how to comp a property. I didn't have any buyers. I really didn't have exactly a know-how of what to be doing, but I was just kind of following the training and didn't have any additional support. But it was still good training.
It's funny. I call Jake Make It Happen. What your story tells me is you make it happen, because people are going to make excuses. I don't know how to do this. You just jumped in head first, and that's making it happen. Because to put in that many offers to get rejected, the average person, I think myself included, after 30 no-goes, I'd probably say this ain't for me. But that's a testament to to your strength and your fortitude to push forward and to say, you know what, I spent $1,000 on this. I'm going to make it happen. So that is really awesome. That's really cool. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your real estate background and really how you got started after this course?
Okay. So finally, I flipped the first deal. I actually made $5,000 on that first one. And then after that first deal, I didn't. One of the mistakes, and I know we can talk about this a little bit later, but I was so ecstatic about making that first $5,000. I ended up spending it real quick, and I didn't reinvest in the business as I should have. But one of the things that it was a mistake that I made was I didn't follow up on my momentum. So going forward, I end up closing about, I want to say 4 more deals that year. I could have closed way more, but again, I was kind of teetering and not really being all the way focused. So fast forward, the very next year, 2010, I decided that I was going to attend this seminar. It was more like, I wouldn't even say it's a seminar. It was more like a boot camp type of thing that they're adding addition to people that had purchased the software. So I attended this program, boot camp or whatever you want to call it, event. And it was in San Diego. And one thing that stood out to me was like, you got to read books. You got to, work on growing your self-development side of yourself in order to become this, wealthy and rich person and stuff like that. So he talked about Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I went and got that book, read that book. And I decided that day that I was going to quit my job. I had put a date out, May 7th, 2010 was the day I was going to quit, regardless if I had any money in my bank account or whatever. So I went ahead and I continued on. I only did one deal. No, I take it back. 2 deals before May 7th. I didn't have a lot of money, but I went ahead and I just quit cold turkey. I took all my vacation days, all my sick days. So I had no choice. May 7th, I just walked out, didn't give a 2-week notice at all. And I focused on the business. So I grinded it out the whole 2010. I closed a few more deals that year. I did struggle. I did go through some times where I was really like, I don't know if this was the best decision that I should have done, especially since I had a new child at the time. I just had my daughter the previous year. So I got through it. And then I want to say around November, it was a crazy time. I was into this contest. I won this Hummer and from this launch. And then from there, things just start rolling in. I started transitioning my business from doing REOs to start following and marketing for off-market properties, going direct to seller. And that's when everything really changed.
So, Chris, why real estate for you?
Well, the reason why real estate is because I've always, from the books that I was reading, I always kept hearing real estate was the vehicle that most millionaires and billionaires use to get, rich and wealthy. It just kept coming up, real estate. And I thought about it. I was like, no one, I don't see any other way of real estate going down and not being that vehicle to get people wealthy, because people are always going to need a house to stay. And unless they create something else that you can live out of, real estate is always going to be something that is a need for everyone. So I just felt that it was the simplest way to really get wealthy and get rich. And so that's why I chose real estate.
That's funny because my partner Jake likes to say you can't live in the internet. So it makes total sense to me. It's totally true. You need somewhere to live, and that's just something, food and shelter. That's the two most important things. I totally agree with that. Let me circle back to your first deal. I really want you to talk about your first deal, what you learned, and how you struggled to get that first deal. Because a lot of listeners out there are struggling to start. How am I going to start? I can't start. But you went. May 10th was the day of reckoning for you. That's what I'm going to call it. May 7th, 2010. That's the day of reckoning for you. So you quit your job that day, but circle back and let me know, how you got into that first deal and what mistakes you did make in there.
Okay, sure. So a lot of times I really realized over those other 26 transactions that didn't go through was that I really didn't know how to comp a property, and I didn't really know the best way to find buyers. I was, getting a few buyers, but ended up, a lot of those being wholesalers trying to wholesale my properties. A lot of times I was buying the property way too high. So when it comes to REO properties, a lot of times if you're going to present this type of deal to a buyer, it's best that you have this property under what it's listed for. So if it's listed for 50, you don't want to mark the property up for 55 because most buyers are going to look at you and why would they buy it from you when it was listed for 50? It just doesn't make any sense unless this was an extreme high deal. And this was back then in this market. Now it's a little different because it's a seller's market. But back then this was a buyer's market. So what I did on this first deal was it was a deal that was on MLS. It had been on there for about, I think it was 80 days that sat on the market. And they always told me that if a property had been on the market for over 30 days, then you can start, hitting them with low offers. So for this property, it was in Pasco, which is more of like I guess you could say an older town. It's not really the city of Tampa. It's outskirts of Tampa. It's called Newport Richey. And I went ahead and I put her offer in on this property. It was, I want to say it was 35,000. Okay, so it was listed for 35. I put in an offer at 20. I went back and forth. We ended up getting it accepted for 22.
Wow.
Yeah. We ended up getting accepted for 22. I put a strong offer in that I only needed a 5-day inspection. The only reason why I did that because usually I put 7 days. But what I did was I actually partnered up with someone that had a buyer for it. And they were at the 31 mark. So what I did was it was like a new buyer. He didn't really understand too much of the market, but he wanted to get in and he wanted a rental. So I ended up finding another wholesaler that had a buyer for 31. We got it for 21. And we ended up doing a double close on this property. And we split the assignment fee at $10,000. So that was my very first deal that I did out there in Newport Richey.
Wow, there's a lot of moving parts going on.
Especially for a first deal. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want you to highlight all your different investment strategies because it seems like you wholesale, you're buying stuff from banks. I mean, this is all interesting and new stuff for Jake and I, and I'm sure the listeners, would love to hear all your different strategies that you got going on right now.
Sure. So right now, so when I first started, I was doing a lot of, again, wholesaling off of bank-owned property. So I would basically just go on to MLS and I would look for properties that are for sale, pretty much mostly REOs at that time because there was just so many. And I would just go out and just put an offer in. Now, one of the mistakes that I used to make was, again, I didn't really have any buyers lined up. So I would have a 7-day inspection clause in there that I could back out if I need to. And what I would do is I would actually tie these properties up. I would get the offer accepted and get it accepted around a Thursday. And that way the paperwork and the contracts wouldn't come back till Friday. I would have a whole weekend to market this property.
Oh, great.
So what I would do is I would go put out bandit signs and, try to contact some people on Craigslist or put some advertising on the Craigslist to try to attract some buyers for the property and try to sell it over the weekend. Because if Monday or Tuesday came and I didn't have a deposit from my buyer, I would just back out via the inspection because I just didn't feel comfortable that I could sell it.
How many real estate agents tried killing you?
Oh, man, there's a lot of them. A lot too.
That's funny.
Well, that's courageous. It's a lot of courage you're showing. You're showing, and that's the make it happen kind of thing, Jake. You've got to get it done. You've got to get out there, put those signs out, and you're putting yourself under a lot of pressure to do that. And it's good, and it's good in one way, bad in another way. But I mean, you're showing hunger on that kind of strategy. That's great.
Yeah. So, again, that was something I did. I actually almost lost $1,000 deposit. So what I would do is I would actually, since they required a deposit, what I would do is I would tell them I'll put $1,000 deposit down, and I would take a picture of the check, and then I would send it to them in the email and say, hey, it's in the mail. It's on the way. So I actually sent them a check one time because they said they wasn't going to send the contract back. So I sent them a check, and they deposited too. It was crazy. I wasn't even going to get it back almost. They were really about to forfeit my whole deposit because it's supposed to be non-fundable. But I was able to get out via the inspection. But I was really scared because I think I only had about $1,200 in my account at the time I sent that deposit. So if they would have took that $1,000, it would have been a long week.
This is great. This is awesome, man.
Yep. So then, I transitioned after the market started to increase, and there was just so many more investors started to come on. The MLS started getting a lot less properties, so it wasn't as much properties on there as it used to be. There was a lot of investors eating up some of the best properties. I would put offers in, and somebody would come with a offer that wouldn't even be better than mine, and they would get it locked up, and I was getting frustrated. So I was like, okay, I invested in some more education and got a mentor, and I started to see that the way was to find off-market properties that people couldn't find on their own. So that's when I learned marketing, which I can tell you that marketing is definitely one of the most essential things that you must learn when it comes to wholesaling. Outside of knowing your numbers and stuff like that, you got to know how to market, to generate leads. And so that's what I studied. I learned how to generate leads. And one of the best strategies I use still today, is direct mail. Sending out direct mail to certain targeted lists, things of lists like people that have recently evicted a tenant, people that have recently inherited a property. Let's call it probates. Also, send it to people that have a property that they've owned for 10 years or longer, and they don't live there, but the property is free and clear. So I started targeting these different lists and started to generate calls and just sifting through which ones were actually motivated to sell. The key to this business and wholesaling is that you got to find people that are in a situation where they need to sell. Most people aren't going to necessarily, need to sell at this time. They might be calling to, inquire on what they can get for the property. But there are people that will call and say, hey, Chris, this property just went vacant. We just got rid of this tenant. They trashed the place. I don't have any money to fix this property up. I just want to get rid of this headache. And those are the ideal people that I'm looking for.
Motivated sellers, Jake, huh?
Motivated sellers all day long.
It sounds like he's looking for mom and pop, wholesaling, motivated sellers. It all falls under the same umbrella. You're trying to add value there. Now, what's really cool about it, kid, so just go over your whole past 5 years. How has your strategy changed over the last 5 years? It looks like it's really evolved, and you've really educated yourself on a new strategy, right?
Yeah. Okay. So from just doing a lot of marketing and doing deals here in the Tampa Bay area, what I started to do was I started to realize that, especially this market, Tampa, is really, really extremely competitive. So, back in the day, I could send out a few postcards, a few letters, and I would get good response rates. We started bringing in a lot of leads, closing a lot of those deals. But as the market started to heat up, pretty much, we started getting a lot of investors, a lot of people, and it's got really, really competitive, really, really competitive. So I started to venture out in different markets. I said, okay, if I can do this in Tampa, how much, difficulty would it be going into a different market? So I actually ventured off, and one of the first, I think it was 2011, my first wholesale deal that was virtual, where I never saw the property, never met the seller or the buyer, physically. I did everything over the internet and with, email and fax and stuff like that. Was in Apopka, Florida. And I actually did this deal while I actually had a buyer call me, and we closed the deal while I was on vacation. And it was just because I had a great team of people. I understood how to bring in people and hire people from Craigslist to do tedious tasks like going to look at the property and paying them to take pictures for me, going to put a lockbox on the property, and just, using the power of the internet to find and connect different people. So I ventured off in the pocket. That was my first virtual deal back in 2011. And then I started to say, I can do this in different markets. So one of the things that have changed now is that I'm still wholesaling here in the Tampa Bay area, but I've also stretched out and started to partner up with different people in different markets. So I do a lot of marketing in different markets. We're actually in the Montgomery, Alabama market right now. I'm also in the Dallas, Texas market. As well as I'm getting ready to expand up north in the East Coast over there in the Ohio area. So I've just basically taken exactly what I've done and being able to build teams and build people around the business and use the power of the internet to start venturing off and wholesale in different other markets outside of my own.
Chris, how do you choose the markets? I mean, we have certain parameters in multifamily. We like to look at job growth. We like to look at population growth, household income growth, people migrating to certain markets. How do you choose it when you go wholesale a property? What do you like in the market that you're venturing into?
Definitely. Well, I want to know how many cash transactions have taken place. So I do a lot of research. I like to connect with some other investors that I know. Since I do have a good network of people, I like to connect and find out, what's going on in a certain market and how many cash transactions have taken place. If I know there's been a lot of cash transactions taking place, then that lets me know that there are landlords out there that are buying or rehabbers that are buying, fixing, and flipping. And so all I'm doing is just finding properties for them and flipping them to them.
Okay.
Yeah. So if I know that, I'm like, okay, we can go ahead and get into this market and start to test and see what we can do.
So you touched on before your team building. You thought that was really important. How do you build your teams? And what advice do you have for team building for anybody out there listening?
Yeah, definitely. Well, it really depends on what your business model is. If you're a rehabber or if you're getting into wholesaling or whatever the case may be, whatever investment strategy, you got to look at what things can be outsourced that you don't want to physically do yourself, or it's just a tedious task. And so something like looking at properties, that's not something that I really enjoy doing. I enjoy actually talking on the phone with homeowners and actually making them feel comfortable in negotiation deals. Okay, that's one of my strong points. So everything else is something that, I can do, but if I can outsource it, it'll probably be better. So when it comes to build up your team, you look at what things you love to do, what things you don't like to do, and something like hiring an acquisition manager where you're paying somebody to basically be the person, the eyes and the boots on the ground for you is something that you can bring in. And you'd be surprised, these people are on Craigslist. I've actually found people that used to be inspectors in different markets that have become an acquisition manager. Another thing which I really would tell everybody to do, especially, is hiring a virtual assistant. This has really streamlined the growth of my business, of having somebody to really filter these calls that are coming in. I'm not here to answer every single call of motivated seller because a lot of them are not necessarily going to be motivated. Some of them actually called me and cursed me out for mailing them. So I found a virtual assistant over in the Philippines that I pay $4 an hour now. I raised the price. They start off at $3. It's very good English speaking.
So generous, Chris.
Yeah. And she answers all of the calls. She messaged me through Podio to let me know, which ones we have that's a hot lead, and that way I can get back to those and start to build up the rapport and start the process. So I would tell everybody, get you an assistant. It doesn't not necessarily have to be in the Philippines. I go that route because it is less expensive. But a virtual assistant or some type of assistant, acquisition manager, or if you just want someone just to be somebody that puts the photos out and take photos of the properties or put lot boxes on the properties or show your properties. You can even have a realtor that can help you with this as well. But building a team is definitely essential to start the growth of your business.
And Chris, where do you find these virtual assistants? On what websites do you use?
Yeah, so I use Upwork, formerly known as Odesk. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure, why they switched the name, or I guess they might have got bought out. I'm not sure, but I've been using them for the past 6 years now of Upwork, and so I've had some that have came and went away, but I have two assistants. One of them that have been with me for about 3 years. The other one is going on 1.5 years now.
And how do you like working with them? I mean, as far as them being remote, and how do you keep track of their hours and how do you keep track of their work? Do you like their work?
Yeah, so one thing I like about Upwork is that the process of any freelancers that you have, because I actually hire other people too. I have a podcast editor on there. I have a videographer, well, not videographer, I should say video editor, He edits my videos and some other people on there too. But one thing I like about Upwork is that, so in order for them to get paid, when they actually clock in, they have a timer on their computer, and it takes screenshots of the computer. So throughout the day as they're working and they're logged in, it randomly takes a screenshot of the computer to show what they're doing. They also have to have a log sheet of the things that they were doing in the time that they're on the clock. So at any given time, I can go back and look at what they were doing when they were clocked in. And, if somebody's wasting your time, you can check them about that, or if you want to get rid of them or whatever. But I found that, $3-4 an hour, obviously in America, that's not a lot of money. No one in America could make it on that type of income. But in the Philippines, it's very good. And some of these people don't even make, $5 a day. And so they love the hours. They love the money. And I treat them as I would like to be treated if I was an employee. I give them bonuses for things that they've done to help out. We get deals. I give them, extra bonuses and stuff like that. And it's worked out great for me. I have no complaints.
Hey, Jake, 2 words, Jake. Upwork, Philippines. You remember that?
Check and check.
We're hitting that, okay? After this, we'll jump on Upwork, and we're looking at that. Chris, can you give the listeners your best investing advice or tip?
Sure. I would tell you, you got to know your market. A lot of people that I see on these different forums and groups and stuff like that, they're complaining that they can't find a buyer or for the deals, or they don't think that this works. I would tell you, you got to know your market, because when it comes to investing, you make money on the buy, especially if you're selling. You make money on the buy. So the cheapest you can get the property, if you buy low, you can still sell low and make some good money. But if you don't know your numbers, you don't know your market, you can end up, buying in a different area where people are really not interested in buying. And you can, get caught up in making a lot of mistakes because you don't know your market.
That's awesome, because that's our mantra. And I think every real estate investor has to understand that you're making your money when you buy. It's not what you buy, it's what you pay. So you can buy anything in the world as long as you're buying it right. And people tell me the time horizon, wait 10, 15 years. It does not matter. I've had a property for 8 years. I bought it wrong. I'm still in the red with the property. So I agree 100% with that analysis.
Definitely.
Chris, you said you got a decent amount of education, went to some courses. Throughout the years, you've definitely been a all-in entrepreneur. What is your best habit for success for the listeners?
Oh, great question. I would tell you is outside of educating yourself in the business, you should definitely work on developing yourself. You got to understand that in order to become this person that you want to become, whether that's rich, wealthy, or however millions or whatever you would like to be at, what success looks like to you, you have to become a different person. So I really tell everybody and really suggest that you start to read books. Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, that's one of my favorite books. I read that book every single year just because I get different insights every time I read it. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I hope everybody has read that book if you're an entrepreneur. But really just start to work on training your mind and look at some of the successful people and read their stories. Find out the things that they went through, and you'll start to realize some of the things you went through probably were just the same, or if might not have been as bad as the things that they've been through. And they've been able to work through and get to their level of success. And it inspires you to keep going when, things are not going as good as you would like.
I like that, because I think a lot of these people that have been truly successful and really built up great companies really struggled in the beginning of their careers, and they did whatever it took, like putting in 20, 30 offers. So that's pretty cool.
Exactly.
No, seriously, it's a grind up front. It's not easy to get into. So, what was your biggest mistake in real estate?
Man, my biggest mistake was probably those 26 deals that didn't close. That was probably some of my biggest mistakes. And again, that was because I was educated somewhat, but I really, again, didn't study the market like they told me to. So I didn't really understand the areas and neighborhoods. I was just seeing the deal and just saying, hey, let me just try to go in $5,000 lower or whatever. So I didn't really understand our market. So probably that was one of the biggest mistakes, was not really knowing the market when I first got started and just taking action and not really learning all the way. I missed the step that they told me to do.
Yeah. Well, no, that's great, because I always say education times action equals results, and it looks like you went all in with action, but maybe glazed over the education part a little bit in the beginning. But I mean, listen, some people overeducate and then never take action, so probably better to jump in than not do anything, right?
True, definitely true.
You mentioned a few books. What is your favorite success or business book?
Yeah, so I got so many, man. I mean, if you see my library at home, man, I have probably 200 books or something like that.
So
But
that sound like Gino over here.
yeah, I'm an avid reader, man. But I would say by far, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker. It's a really good book. You know, it's crazy, Gino and Jake. I read this book right before I quit my job, and I read this book in the library. I read this book in 48 hours. So I read the book the very first time. I read it probably almost more than halfway through the first day. And then I put like a bookmark in there. I came back to the library and I read the rest of it.
Oh, nice.
And
that's it, though, man. Getting started, grinding it out in the beginning. Didn't have all the resources, did whatever it took. I love that.
But Chris, what's great about that book, I mean, let me interject really quick. The book is all about you and your financial blueprint. You need to you need to start investing 10% of yourself. You need to pay yourself first and put 10% away. People don't do that. The average person doesn't do that. They think about what their financial thermostat. It's set at making $1,000 a month or $2,000 a month. Your financial thermostat is set by whatever you want to set it at. So as you've grown and you've experienced success in your life, you see that you can adjust your financial thermostat up. And that's what T. Harv Eker talks about. I think his book is so powerful, and he's got a lot of courses out there, a lot of boot camps and stuff. But if you read that book and you say from within, you're saying, wow, this is me. I'm limiting myself. And that's what a lot of us are doing. A lot of us are, and Jake is not one of them. I'm one of them. I'm like, let's buy a smaller property. Jake's all into buying these huge properties. I'm into the smaller mentality. I'm glad I'm his partner because he pushes me and he makes me see that there's so much more opportunity out there. And that's what a lot of us are doing. A lot of us are looking at the smaller deals and just getting the crumbs when there's the whole freaking pie out there. And that's what T. Harv Eker talks about. He talks about your financial blueprint. Just because you were born into a poor family, you don't have to be that way. Someone like Donald Trump, his financial thermostat is not set to millions; it's set to billions. And when he loses his money, his thermostat is gonna go down. But then what happens? The air conditioner kicks on, and it's gonna go right back up to where the B is. So it's all about your mindset, and it's all about the personal development.
Yep.
So my next question was, Gino, have you read that book? Obviously, you've read that book.
I beat Chris. I read that book 15 times, if not more.
But this is the thing. We got guests on all the time, and they bring up these books, and I've never heard of or read. And then Gino jumps into this, course on the book and starts teaching about it. But that's why we got him here. So,
but what does it say? It's his theory. I mean, you're the one who does the action. I'm the one who teaches the action. So that's why we're a great partnership, great marriage made in heaven, bro.
So I know it, man. I know it. So I want to start talking dollars now, Chris. I want to know about your best deal. I want to know some financials here.
Sure. So one of the best deals, this was probably 2014. I want to say July or August. I actually documented everything too. So one of the best deals, I made a little over $32,000.
Nice.
Now let me tell you why this was the best deal. Not even just in dollars amount. This deal came free. It was a free lead. It was a girl that had contacted me. One of the friends of mine, she contacted me that her dad had a property, and she told me, Chris, please do not make fun of me when I tell you about this property. And I said, no problem. She's like, do you still buy property? I said, yes, of course. And she said, okay, my dad, he has a property. It is extremely horrible in condition. We've called the We Buy House ugly houses guys, and they were supposed to get back to us, and they never didn't. So I said, okay, connect me with your dad, and I definitely will be able to help him out. And she said, please, Chris, he really, really needs this. So I called him up. He told me that the address of his property, and he told me to come by. And he said, when you come by, make sure you wear some jeans you don't like. So I said, what do you mean by that? He said, just make sure you wear some jeans that you don't care about getting messed up. I said, okay.
Like hazmat? You got the hazmat suit going on or what?
This was insane. So I look up the property online, do my research, do my due diligence. I see it's one of the prime time areas of Tampa. I'm talking about $300,000 houses in this area. So I said, okay, I wonder, what he's going to want for it, because he had a small mortgage on it. He only owed $22,000 on the mortgage. But I was like, couldn't believe what he would want at. So I was like, okay, let's see what's going to happen. Let's see. So I went out to the property. I had some, messed up jeans, messed up shoes, and I'm so glad I did, because Gino and Jake, when I walked into that property, it was hell. Like he was a hoarder, and it was stuff everywhere. I mean, I went to one room, it had a hole in the roof. He literally hadn't been back to that room in 3 years himself.
Wow,
that's a sunroof.
Yeah, sunroof, exactly. I just knew an animal was going to run across my feet. I was waiting for it at any given moment. It never happened though, but it was stuff everywhere. I asked him what he wanted. He was like, you know what? I just want to get into an apartment. Get me into an apartment. Get me out of this property. All I want to take is the TV. Everything else I don't care about. I said, okay.
Wow.
So I ran some numbers. I said, would $25,000 work for you? He said, yes, sir, that will. I can put a down payment on my apartment, get up out of here. The mortgage will be paid. That works for me. So I instantly said, meet me at Hooters. Lunch is on me. Brought the contract. We got the contract signed. And I ended up selling it for, what was it, 55? I had one of my partners, he brought a buyer for it. So he ended up making a few grand on it, but I told him I wanted to make at least 30.
Everybody eats, right?
Everybody eats though.
But that's the thing. You're making money. They're making money. You got a nice meal at Hooters. The lady at Hooters got a nice tip because you guys are all happy. And I think I just found out the secret to doing deals may be sitting down at Hooters, getting everybody feeling good about themselves and getting everybody comfy enough to sign some contracts. Yep. Is that a secret? Is that the tip that you were like holding back and didn't want to give us? Or
man, you know what? That might be the trick, man.
I think that's the one right there.
If he's a male homeowner, a male seller, bring him to Hooters and get him to sign the contract.
I like it.
So, Chris, what happened with the deal then? The mechanics after you sold it to this guy for $55. What did he end up doing with it? He ended up rehabbing it and he ended up reselling it. You know what happened with the property at the end?
You know what's so crazy? He ended up, I think we sold it for more than 55. It was like 58 or something like that. But you know what happened? What's crazy is that he ended up buying it. And again, now let me take you back. So the guy I sold this property to was the same guy that I bought the course from originally. The very RL Rockstar course I bought from.
Wow.
So so the guy I learned how to start wholesaling was the person that bought the property from me. And it was my first.
Train the trainer.
No, it's crazy. And so I thought that he was going to fix it up and flip it but it was actually, they said after doing the estimates, it was probably better to tear down and then start all over. But it was new construction builds going up in the area anyway. So he turns around and he flips it to another buyer for a 10 grand profit.
Wow. That is awesome.
Yeah. So I'm not sure what's going on with the property. I probably should go by, stop by and see, did they redo the house or whatever. But yeah, he ended up turning around and flipping it himself. And he knew how much I made. He didn't even care. He's like, hey, it's cool.
That's what's great about your business. Your business seems like it's a win-win. If you can create a win-win situation with somebody, you make money, he makes money, that guy makes money. It sounds like an awesome business to be in.
Yeah.
So how can the folks get a hold of you?
Oh, definitely. Well, just like you guys, I do have a podcast out, and a lot of people can contact me through there. It's escapethenewbiezone.com, or you can definitely find me on my Facebook. I'm pretty active on there. Just look me up, Chris Bruce. I'm all over the internet. So just Google me if anything. I got YouTube videos and everything out, and you can get in contact with me that way.
Chris, this is a lot of fun. Really appreciate your time.
Definitely, man. I appreciate you guys having me on the podcast.
Okay, take care.
Thanks, Chris.
We trust that you enjoy the Wheelbarrow Profits podcast. Visit jakeandgino.com, your one-stop shop for everything multifamily. See you next time when Jake and Gino share more of their investing secrets with you.